Good evening to each of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There are a lot of us in the room today, so we want to thank you for being here and for your patience. We also will value your time tonight. Just a few housekeeping rules. This is recorded, and so we ask that you would, if there's anything very personal that you care to share, please, you can email us. Our email addresses will be listed. But so whatever questions that you have, keep them kind of general. We will have Q&A times throughout this presentation. So you're welcome to ask questions during that time and utilize the chat. So let's go ahead and get started. I am Candace Turner. Good evening once again. I'm the Director of Home Ownership with Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. We are happy to have you here today. We do have some lenders on the call as well, but I will go ahead and also allow my coworkers to introduce themselves. I will start with Flora Valdez DePina.
Hi, Candace. Hi, everyone. My name is Flora Valdez DePina. I am the communications coordinator for the Maggie Walker CLT. So I'm here to manage our Zoom call, and I make all of our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter posts. I manage our email list as well. So if you have any questions about those things or any, things like that, please let me know. And also one really quickly, please leave your microphones and cameras off when you're not talking. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Elizabeth.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Munyon, and I am the Home Purchasing Coordinator with Maggie Walker CLT. I really help people through the application and the closing process.
And April.
Hello, everyone. I'm April Ward. I'm the Homeowner Engagement Coordinator here with Maggie Walker. I am your point of contact after closing for anything house-related, warranty-related, etc.
Thank you so much, April. And do we have any lenders that care to introduce themselves tonight?
Sure. My name is Mary White, and I'm with Town Bank Mortgage. And I do a lot of work with Maggie Walker. We love working with everybody that you are hearing from tonight. And the program is fantastic. We've been able to help a number of people. I think this year alone, I may be up to 5, maybe 6 now as of yesterday. So we're really loving what the program does for first-time home buyers. So thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Good evening. This is Tanya Irizarry. I'm with Department of Commerce, Federal Credit Union. I'm also one of the lenders involved with the Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. Wanted to thank you guys for your time this evening. I know most of us work, so after a long day, it's hard to jump on a Zoom call like this, but you guys are investing in your future, and we're excited to be a part of that and definitely here to help you along throughout the process.
Anyone else?
Hey, everybody. My name is Jordan Matthews. I'm a lender with Virginia Credit Union, or I should say a loan officer with Virginia Credit Union. And we appreciate your partnership and everyone being here tonight and look forward to helping you out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary, Tanya, and Jordan. Anyone else before I move on? Any other lenders on the call? Okay, all right. Well, let's move forward with our presentation today. Again, feel free to put your information, lenders, in the chat. Also, participants, feel free to ask any questions and or answer questions. We'll have, as I mentioned, Q&A time throughout this presentation, but also we'll have some startup questions and questions throughout, survey questions just to ask and to get us started thinking about home ownership in some other ways, okay? So let's move forward. I want to discuss a few housing resources that may be helpful to you all. Everyone on this call may not be at the point right now of being ready for home ownership. So we want to give you some resources that may aid you in your journey towards getting to home ownership. Catholic Charities has a credit counseling service. That service will look at the money you have coming in, as well as the money that you have coming out, and help you with any areas of opportunity to increase your savings or to pay down debt. So we have CCE credit counseling there for your convenience, and then a housing resource line. This is a program towards home ownership. And so you may be at a place where you're looking for emergency housing, or you may have a housing crisis or know someone that is facing that. And so we want to have that hotline there for that reason, but also to give you other resources, whether you're in that particular situation or if you have questions about housing in general and home ownership and opportunities there. So we have that housing resource there for your convenience as well. Next slide, please. So what we'll discuss tonight is explaining a little bit about a CLT. You hear a lot of acronyms. CLT stands for Community Land Trust. So we'll talk a little bit about the CLT, who's eligible for a CLT, and the benefits of home ownership through CLT. We'll also talk about ground lease. That makes home ownership through a CLT a lot different. So we'll discuss that. And then we'll also discuss how you apply. Okay, and so we'll have all of that tonight. And again, we'll have time for Q&A. Next slide, please. So we want to hear a little bit from you. We want to know who's here. We have already introduced our team, and we do consider our lenders as part of our team and our family. So we want to know who's here. Feel free to use the chat or come off mute for a moment. Who's in the room tonight?
Monte Mitchell.
Hello, Monte.
Hello.
Thank you. From
Poll come up on your screen. So just take a minute to check that if it applies to you.
yes. And these questions are not, thank you for putting your locations there too as well, people in the chat.
Zacchaeus.
Hi, Zacchaeus. Good evening.
Okay.
Thank you. As Elizabeth mentioned, we do have a poll on, you should see pop up with a few questions. None of these questions are, this isn't a test or anything like that. It's just giving us a better understanding of your reason for being here. So please take a moment to answer that as well. I will actually also read the questions just in case it's not popping up for you or if you're on the phone. So we're asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here. So maybe if you're interested in purchasing a home, if you're a realtor, if you're an interested citizen, you're involved in affordable housing, or some other reason, we would love to hear why you're here. You can feel free to put that in the chat. I know Flora will chime in to let us know how that poll is looking.
Excuse me, I'm just bumping in because I can right now. I have you on the thing in my car. I'm doing my commute. I'm Glennis Boyd Hughes. I am interested in home ownership.
Okay.
And yeah, that's it. I'm in Richmond.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
This is Charlotte. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is Charlotte T. Davis, and I live in Richmond, and I am interested in purchasing a home as a first-time home buyer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Zacchaeus interested in home ownership.
Thank you, Zacchaeus.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Okay, Flora, how's that poll looking?
Yeah, it seems like I am having poll troubles again tonight because
Hello.
I am not recording any. Hello? Hi, who's there?
Hello.
Hi, Lafayette.
Yes, this is Lafayette Green. I'm a first-time home buyer and I work with Mary White, and this is my first Zoom thing. So I'm trying to get this phone to work right, but it must be doing something right.
You're doing everything right, Lafayette. Thank you. Thank you for being here
Thank you.
tonight.
No, thank y'all.
Okay. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm having poll troubles again tonight. I don't have any answers recorded coming
Okay.
in.
No
So
problem.
I think we might have to not do the polls tonight, unfortunately.
No problem. If you could just put up the question though for me and I'll just ask it and we can let people respond in the chat, if that's okay.
Yeah, well, it's the interested person home or your
Yep.
realtor, interested citizens, just that.
Yeah, I think we have enough response in the chat, and it sounds like, and thank you guys for responding. A lot of people are first-time homeowners. You're interested in homeowners. I think I saw that there are some realtors on the call. We're excited to have you here as well. Okay, let's move on. So we want to talk about some of the things that excites you. Again, feel free to use the chat. What excites you about home ownership? What excites you about home ownership?
Having my own home.
Having your own home. Thank you, Lafayette.
Have me a backyard.
I hear you, backyard.
For me, it would be having my own home for the first time.
Thank you. Thank you. First-time homeowners, having a place to call my own.
Yeah.
Developing equity, not throwing away money in rent. Having a legacy. Thank you, Valerie. Investing in myself. Have as many pets as I want. Okay, Sylvia. Thank you all for sharing. Peace of mind. Having your own space. Yes, yes, and yes to all of those things. So what's also true is that there are things that excite us, but there are also things that may make us afraid or nervous. So what are some things about home ownership that may make you nervous or afraid? Maintenance, absolutely. Never being able to have one. Thank you for being transparent, Sylvia. Repairs, thank you, Jessica. Taxes, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Extreme repairs, unexpected repairs. Yes. All of the above. Yes, Shamari. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
What the expenses that just go along with being a first-time home buyer?
Understandable. Thank you for sharing.
Welcome.
Okay. Okay. So I want to thank you all so much for sharing your comments and being transparent about them. So I want to, next slide, please, Elizabeth. Thank you. Talk a little bit more about Maggie Walker, right? Our legacy. If you're from Richmond, hopefully you have heard of Maggie Walker. She's definitely a staple here in the Richmond area. And Maggie Lena Walker started a bank here in 1903. She founded a bank called the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank and served as the first African-American woman to charter a bank and to preside over a bank, right? The first to do that. So clearly she was good at money. Clearly she wanted to empower the community and create economic stability. But also she was driven to pave the way for business owners and community leaders. And also she believed in giving people a seat at the table, right? That otherwise would not have had one. And so our program is created in her legacy. If, as I mentioned, you're familiar with Richmond, the bank, St. Luke's, turned into Consolidated Bank and Trust. There's a bank there was a branch on 9 Mile Road, and there was also a branch on 2 Street. So we have rich legacy here. And so we speak her name every time we have these info sessions in every space that we occupy. We talk about Maggie Walker. So thank you for that. Hopefully you know something today that you didn't know yesterday about Maggie Walker. So we also want to talk a little bit more, next slide, please, Elizabeth, about the key roles and a little bit more about the MWCLT. Again, MWCLT, Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. Our land trust works to provide permanently affordable home ownership. So we'll talk about that tonight. We'll talk about the MWCLT side, but also we want you to know a little bit more about the land bank. The land bank is just that. Think of a bank that typically holds money. The Richmond Land Bank holds property. Okay, that property can come to us in several different ways, but we put vacant properties into strategic community use in the land bank. Well, for the sake of this conversation and info session tonight, we will focus on permanently affordable home ownership through the MWCLT. I want to pause right there and acknowledge that we know everyone's trying to afford wherever it is they live, right? You'll hear, as I mentioned before, a lot of acronyms tonight, but affordable home ownership or affordable housing is also based on area median income. As I mentioned, we'll get a little bit more into that, but I just want to let that be known. We know that everyone is trying to afford where they live. This is a program that is income-based in that regard. Next slide, please. So what is a community land trust, right? Next slide. And so what you have here is just a few pictures of where community land trust started. It is not a new thing. Community land trust, actually the first one was New Communities Incorporated. It was the first US community land trust that stemmed from the civil rights movement. It was created when Black citizens who were sharecroppers were kicked off of their property if they were found to be registered voters. That wasn't that long ago, right? So there's a rich history there. Black activists got together. They purchased large farms with the intention of farming the land together as one so that they could keep and preserve the land, with everyone owning their homes and sharing the land. Okay. If you have not muted your phone, if you don't mind doing so, thank you. And so that's how community land trust started. And that is the vein that we do our work. It is critical. One critical part of that is we understand and recognize and acknowledge the racial and economic and even environmental injustices that occur. And so a community land trust speak to that, to give a solution to that notion. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we've talked a little bit historically about what a community land trust is. It's also noteworthy to acknowledge that we are a nonprofit organization. We're community-based, and it is designed to ensure community stewardship of the land, okay? So our primary use of that land piece is to ensure long-term affordability, so that people, even if you were to get into the land trust and sell your home, the goal is that someone coming behind you will still be able to afford a home as well. Next slide. So we'll talk a little bit more about what it means to keep the home affordable now and in the future, okay? So if you guys have been looking, you know the market is crazy right now, right? What we all can acknowledge is that on the conventional market, you're basically purchasing the house and the land. You're purchasing the house and the land. Well, with the CLT home, you're purchasing the house at a subsidized rate and the land remains in the trust. So you lease the land and you use it in the same way that anyone else would, right? When it comes time for you to sell your home, you're selling the house, but the land in and of itself is never sold. That land remains in the community land trust. And the reason for that is so that the next buyer will need to meet the same income requirements that you did as a purchaser. And that's how we keep those homes affordable. You have the same rights and privileges as someone does on the conventional market. That person agrees to the same resale structure when they sell, and that's how the home is sold from buyer to buyer as long as that home exists. Okay, and we'll get a little bit more into that a little bit later. Next slide, please. So again, what must be noted is that the CLT model is centered on racial equity, wealth generation, community control, collective decision-making, and long-term stewardship of both community and land. Again, we acknowledge that there have been some things that happened historically that have made a large gap between people of color and home ownership. And so this program was created to help accomplish the goal of home ownership better and quicker, right? Our goal here is to help people acquire the dream that they have. And a lot of times, especially now with the market being the way that it is, a dream can turn into a nightmare. This program is set up to help your dream become a reality. Next slide, please. So we'll talk a little bit more about the benefits of home ownership through the CLT. Thank you, Elizabeth. So CLTs benefit the homeowner in several ways. Of course, we've already talked about the affordability of homes that you'll find in the Richmond area and surrounding areas. We will talk about some of the other areas that we're in. Now, I want to note this. Typically, when someone hears affordable, they think their mind just goes straight to rehab, right? Or homes that have been renovated. We do have homes that have been renovated, but I want you guys to note that our homes that are renovated are literally stripped back to the studs. So it is essentially a new build. Our homes are either renovated, as I just explained, or they are completely new construction. So the CLT also allows the homeowner to build wealth over time, and that's through your monthly mortgage payment and the way that these homes increase in value with wages instead of the market, okay? Also, support and assistance for the homeowner is provided through other things, right? We also acknowledge the intangible things that happen through home ownership, that increase in pride. You guys mentioned it a little bit earlier, being able to do what you want with your own home, having a sense of home and something that belongs to you, being able to provide for yourself and your children and to leave a legacy. Those are the non-tangible things that owning a home through the CLT may be able to provide to you. Next slide, please. Okay, so the other thing that CLTs do is speak to what's going on in the communities right now. The models are set up to speak to the housing prices increasing in Richmond and vicinity. Truly, homes are unaffordable right now, specifically if you want to live in the city, or if, like me, you grew up in Richmond and you want to live in neighborhoods that you grew up in. A lot of times we are priced out of those neighborhoods. And part of the work of CLT is to combat Black land loss and displacement that often happens because of gentrification or because of the changes that are happening in and of themselves. So this is a tool to reduce speculation and to speak to gentrification. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about program eligibility. Okay, so what you have listed here, and it's also on our website. Again, we'll go a little bit more in depth with this further in the presentation, but you'll see right here the things that are required to be eligible. So of course you must income qualify, and we'll get into the numbers a little bit later. But you must agree to the ground lease. We'll talk about that as well. But again, that ground lease is the piece that you're leasing the ground underneath the home that you're purchasing, okay? You must be approved for pre-qualification for a minimum of $150,000. All right, and again, we have approved lenders. Here's why we have approved lenders, and I'm sure we have some people on the call tonight that you may have worked with lenders outside of our approved lenders list, which is listed on our website. Here's the thing. Getting a home through a CLT, again, community land trust, is a lot different than getting a home on the conventional market. A lot of lenders are not familiar with the paperwork that's needed to do lending to a community land trust. So there are a few things that we really want to stress to you to think about and consider, not just because we're asking you to, but it makes the process so much smoother. We don't get any incentive for you all using the lenders that are on our approved lender list. They're on our lenders list because they've closed loans and we know they know what they're doing, okay? So that's part of the reason that we have that approved lenders list, is because these lenders have closed homes with us before. So that's why we have that approved lenders list. Again, it's on the website. Also, you cannot own another home at the time of closing. Again, this is an affordable housing program. So if you're able to own another home, then you're taking this opportunity from someone who wouldn't otherwise have a chance towards home ownership. And then there's a clause about your assets. They can't be more than equivalent to 25% of the unsubsidized price of the home. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later, okay? Next slide, please. What you'll see here are the income limits. Again, the income limits. This program is at the top at 80% AMI. We have the 115 AMI. AMI stands for area median income, okay? We have this listed here, the 115 program there, because there are times, we don't have any right now, that we do have homes in the AMI program, 115%, AMI program. Right now, we have homes in the 80% AMI. What you're seeing on your screen right now is the cap for salary based on the amount of people per household. So if that's one person, you see it's a little shy of 60,000, two people, a little shy of 70, okay? Next slide, please. Okay, so what you see here is a list of areas, or a map, if you will, of where we are. You'll see that we're in Richmond, Henrico, Chesterfield, different areas surrounding Richmond. Off to your right, the bottom corner, you'll see Ettrick. We're really excited about that. That is a subdivision with 10 homes that we're excited about, that we broke ground on last year. That I think I saw in the chat someone asking about that. We have not stopped with Ettrick, okay? We are still moving forward with Ettrick, the Ettrick community. I will say that is a 10-home subdivision, so we've had a lot of interest there with that already, but we are still moving forward with Ettrick. So let's talk a little bit about how the program works. Next slide. Okay. April, would you care to talk a little bit about the ground lease?
Yes. Sorry, I couldn't find my mouse.
It's okay.
So the ground lease, most of the program is shaped by the ground lease. It's a legal document that restricts the price that the home can be resold and ensures that the home remains affordable for at least 99 years. That's intended to go beyond your life and probably that of your children. It is fully inheritable. Your home can be passed down to anyone via your will and your heirs by state law. MWCLT provides wills to all home buyers during the closing process free of charge, FYI. If your heirs choose to live in the home as their full-time residents, they will either continue on the current ground lease or may have the option of starting a new ground lease. If your heirs don't want to live in the house, they can sell it and get the same proceeds from the sale as they would if you had sold it before you passed away. So just know that it can pass down to your heirs and they can sell it or either live in the home. The ground lease fee is $100 and you will be invoiced directly from Maggie Walker once a year. This is not part of your escrow. You can either pay the lease in one lump sum or you can divide it into quarterly installments of $25. The board of directors can raise the ground lease fee any year ending in a 0 or a 5, but they are limited to how much they can increase it. They are only allowed to increase it by the same rate as the increase in the consumer price index, and it can never exceed $250 a year. Next slide. All righty. MWCLT is run by a board of directors that is composed of 1/3 homeowners, 1/3 public members, and 1/3 community members. So if you are considering MWCLT homeownership, I hope you will consider joining the board or serving on one of the committees that advises the board in their decision-making. Next slide. What is unique about CLT homeownership? One, it must be your primary residence. For example, let's say you meet someone and decide to move in with them. You would need to sell your MWCLT home so that it is opportunity for another family to own that home. You can't turn it into an investment property or rent it out. There are exceptions to the rule made on a case-by-case basis by the board. Some examples include military deployment or a family situation that requires you to be out of your home for an extended period of time. Renovations to the home must be approved. You can move into your house and paint it, change hardware, light fixtures. You can hang your TV and install shelving. You can put a fence in the backyard, front yard, and you can get sheds on skids. But renovations are generally anything that requires a permit. So if it requires a permit by your local jurisdiction, like taking down a wall or putting up a deck or an addition onto the home, then it will require board approval. You will build equity in your home. You build equity from your down payment, your monthly mortgage payment, and your home's increase in value, which is based on wages instead of the market. And we'll go through that example in a little bit. All righty. We're going to take a minute. If you see this picture here, this is a home in Carytown. It is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home. It was built by Project Homes and it sold for $168,000. We have any questions currently?
Is Jen on the call by any chance?
I was looking for her, yeah.
I don't think
Okay.
so.
Okay,
I don't think
so you guys, FYI, we do have a realtor, Jen Cox. Flora, do you mind putting her information in the chat, please?
Yeah.
Jen Cox is our realtor. So if there are realtors on the call and you have questions about any of the properties that we have, please feel free to reach out to her for that reason, or if you have questions, just in regards to realtor things, please feel free to reach out to her. Thank you, Lark. And Lark, if you want to, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you would like to introduce yourself, please do so as well. I will address the questions that are, or April, both of us can, I'm sorry. I don't know if you're still on, if you're on mute or not, that are in the chat. Let's see what we have here.
Hi all, good evening. My name is Lark Washington. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. I'm just stopping by saying, seeing how the info session is going, and I'm really proud of the home buying team. So y'all are doing an amazing job. I love the presentation. So
Thank you.
yes.
Thanks, Lark. Okay, so let's get to the questions in the chat. If I am pronouncing your name incorrectly, please feel free to correct me. I'm a stickler about names, so please feel free to connect me. So I'm going to say, what is usually the down payment required? That is relative to not only the home, but what you programs you sign up for. We'll talk about some other programs that assist with down payment assistance. And actually, maybe I can get a lender to talk about that a little bit more. Tanya, can you talk a little bit about what may be out there with down payment assistance, if you're still on the call?
Yes, ma'am. So the down payment is going to really be dictated by a couple of different things and really individual to each, as Candace said, home and person's individual situation, because some of it might be related to debt to income or the type of loan program that you end up qualifying for with your lender. It's possible you might not have any down payment if you can qualify for grant funds. So there are a couple of opportunities for that. You would definitely need to probably talk to your lender about some, other than the few that are going to be mentioned here on the call. Home Opportunities Made Equal can be used for down payment. And there are several others as well. So again, if you can get with your lender, they should be able to help you navigate the grant process.
Thank you, Tanya. Okay. How many homes are there available right now? Sylvia, so we'll talk a little bit more about our process. We do not typically list on, and I'll say this very quickly, we do not typically list on MLS. MLS, everyone, is when you go to like some of the bigger sites like Zillow, Realtor.com, things of that nature, and you will just do a Google search for homes. You typically will not see Maggie Walker homes on those sites. And the reason for that is that we provide houses as they become available to our applicant pool first. The only way a home will get on the MLS is if someone from our applicant pool is not interested. We do have a partnership with Project Homes, who are builders here in Richmond, and have homes available on 19th Street. Again, you can check our website to see those listings. So if you're interested, because we're doing a partnership with Project Homes on that, we can direct you to Project Homes because that's a partnership property there. But typically, to answer your question, Sylvia, we put those homes out to the applicant pool. The applicant pool, we'll get into this a little bit later, is created when people complete an application, they then go into the applicant pool. Okay. Can someone rent to own until they meet requirements to own the home? Good question, Samantha. Right now, we do have a program called the Bridge Program, but it was a pilot program with only 4 homes, and those homes have either occupied or those homes have been purchased right now. At the end of this presentation, my contact information, phone number, and email is there. So I welcome you to reach out to me and maybe we can talk about your situation a little bit more. We do not, as I mentioned, have rent to own or lease to own right now. But if there are some things that you or someone you know needs to work on, I may be able to point you in the right direction for that, towards that. Has any of the Ettrick homes sold? No, Dale, not yet. But there is a list. Okay, Mary put some information there about down payment. So please feel free to read that as well. Thank you, Mary. If you're accepted into the program, is there a usual time for when people have been able to find a home, like 2 months, et cetera? That's a hard question, Shamari, because everyone's timetable is different. And unfortunately, we cannot move. And I want to really make sure I'm clear with this. We cannot move at the timetable of the purchaser, meaning when homes are, because we're building or coming in partnership with builders, the homes are ready when they're ready. And then we put that out to the people that already have completed an application. We like to say from the time that if you voice interest in a home, right? You're in the applicant pool. From the time that you voice interest in a home to the time that you close, we ask for 45 to 60 days for several reasons. One, you're going to need an inspection, maybe two. Two, if you're using funding from some of the partnering agencies like Home, Housing Opportunities Made Equal, then they have their process as well. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're giving time for all of the puzzle pieces to fit together. If I don't get to your question, we'll get it the next go around because we have some ways to go. Yeah, so I'll pause right there. I promise I'll answer the rest of your questions, but I want to keep us moving a little bit more. Okay, so next slide. And I'm going to turn this over to you, Elizabeth.
Okay, just to clarify, we want to answer some of these questions at a later.
I'm going to put the rest. I'll answer the next questions at the rest of the questions at the next Q&A session.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth again. I'm going to be talking about some of the financial benefits to home ownership, how it compares to renting, and then go in a bit to our resale process. So as you all already know, when you rent your home, you don't get any of your rent back when you move. But this chart shows this is simply your monthly rent payment multiplied by 24 months, multiplied by the number of years that you were in your home. And so for the purpose of this example, we are going to look at paying about $1,200 monthly in rent. And as you can see in this chart, after about 5 years, that equals about $72,000 in rent alone that you do not get back. But with home ownership, you keep all of the equity that you earn, and this is by paying the loan principal with your monthly mortgage payments. So this here, this is an amortization schedule, and this, let's see, I'm gonna see if I can mute, make sure you're muted. So for the purpose of this example, we are going to look at a home that was purchased for $180,000 with a 3% down payment. And we chose this example because that would be around the same monthly payment as that $1,200 in rent. So after that first year of paying your monthly mortgage on time, the total that you pay to the bank for your loan does not change. You pay that same amount every year. But what does change is what goes into principal and what goes into interest. And so as you pay down your principal, which is the amount that you borrowed from the bank, things start to shift, and then more money goes into principal and less into interest. Let's see. So can one of the lenders on the call tell me what would happen if an individual pays one extra payment per year towards their principal?
Sure. If you pay one extra payment a year, it will reduce the years that you pay for your loan by between 6 and 7. It's not quite as much as it was when the rates were a little bit lower. The other way that you can do it is if you don't want to pay it in one large payment, one full payment, you can take your payment and divide it by 12. And that way it's just a little bit extra each month, which is much more doable for most folks because you can just build it into your budget.
Thank you, Mary. So what happens as you start to pay down your principal is that balance starts to shift between what's going into interest and what's going into principal sooner. But for the purpose of this example, we will not assume any extra payments. You're just paying your mortgage on time, the amount due. But after 5 years, you've accrued $14,709 of equity just by paying your mortgage on time. So if at that point, after 5 years, you went to sell your house, you would have earned that money in equity versus that $72,000 in rent that you do not get any of that back. And this graph here, this shows the same thing as the amortization schedule, but just in a different representation. That monthly payment is still $1,200. And the blue box shows the interest that you're paying on the loan and then the principal. So in the second year of paying your mortgage, most of your money is going into interest with about a quarter going into principal. But once you start to accrue time in your house by year 15, for example, if you're still paying the same amount, that $1,200 in your mortgage payment, about half is going into principal and half into interest. And so by year 25, assuming that you still have a mortgage and haven't paid down any additional principal, most of your money is going into principal and not interest. So this concept is true for most mortgages, and not just the CLT. So on the conventional market, this also applies. And so another part of your monthly payment is your escrow. So this is a way, as a homeowner, you have to pay for insurance on your home and taxes. And these are due every 6 months and can be a pretty big sum. And the bank wants to make sure that you pay both your taxes and your insurance, because if you do not, then you may lose your house. So instead of paying this big fee twice a year, it's divided up into payments so that you can pay a little bit monthly. And this becomes part of your monthly mortgage payment. It goes into an escrow account, and the bank will use that escrow account to pay the insurance company and then the city and county where you live. So in addition to your loan payment, part of your loan payment will also include your escrow account. And the escrow account can fluctuate year by year based on insurance prices and taxes, but it will not fluctuate as much as rent would over the same time, generally speaking. I'm going to pause and have a little time for questions, but first I want to share this home with you all. This is one of our homes in the Blackwell neighborhood in South Side Richmond. This sold earlier this year. It was a 3-bedroom, 2.5 home. We sold this property for $180,000. And what's really cool about this house is that the land came to us through the Richmond Land Bank program. So this was land that we acquired and then developed as an affordable housing opportunity.
And Elizabeth, let me add to this. I love this house.
Me too.
I am biased. I love this house. You probably have seen this house in several different places, because this particular house this way, I can think of 3 places in Richmond that it is, right? In Southside and Churchill. And as Elizabeth mentioned, I mean, she gave you the stats on it: 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. It's a fabulous house. I just have to brag on it. It's one of the things that I'm excited about us doing. So we will go back to some of the questions here. I think I answered the question about how long does it take, 45 to 60 days. Leah, how long does it take people to go through the program? I mentioned that, but from the mortgage approval process, that's contingent upon what lender you choose as well. So there's that piece.
I do want to go to, I think it's the last question. I think this is getting at one of Flora's favorite questions, which is if the land trust cease to exist, what happens with the land? Flora, is it okay if I call on you?
Yeah, completely. So, sorry, wait 1 second. So, the specific question here is what happens if MWCLT decides to sell the land because of an unfortunate circumstance? And I want to touch on the idea of stewardship really quickly.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is like it's a founding principle of community land trusts and is like central to how community land trusts operate, which is basically stewardship is a, you know, I mean, it's a promise and a commitment and you know, an agreement based on trust, which is what community land trusts are all about, right? Trust is that we will not sell the land, like, because, you know, we exist to serve you as a nonprofit organization. You know, we are not here to make money. We are not going to sacrifice that part of our, you know, reason for existence. If so, MWCLT will never sell the land. I will make that clear. But if Maggie Walker ceased to exist for some reason, if we became insolvent for whatever reason, if, you know, something like that happened in the future, our bylaws basically dictate that we have to appoint another nonprofit organization to take over the duties of the community land trusts, which includes taking over all of our ground leases, which basically kind of continues the CLT program indefinitely, no matter what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Flora.
Great
I hope
answer.
that answered your question. Yeah. Your question, Christy. And I will say, especially in this market and knowing some of the experiences that I've had working with people personally, there's been some things that have happened. We've seen people lose their homes right up underneath them, not in the CLT, but just on the market. Maybe someone was renting from a landlord and that landlord decided to sell a house or whatever. And, you know, someone is in a particular position. As Flora mentioned, we are contractually bound as well. So we will not sell the land. Okay. Thank you for that question. Okay, thank you, Lark, for answering Zacchaeus's question about application. We will get into that momentarily as well. Love the kitchen, Sylvia, me too. It's very open concept. Certified homeownership class is free. When it's time to sell the house, how is the price determined to sell? We're going to get into that. Does the approval need to go through the community to justify the price to make it affordable? Elizabeth, would you like to answer that?
Yes, so we are going to go into that in the next section in detail, but just to short answer, the price is set through the area median income and the change over time. So it's not, it's a formula that we use that's based on market or wage conditions, not the housing market. So it is more affordable over time due to the fact that it does not follow the housing market trends. But I will go into that. Should I move on to our next section? I think I will. We will have a few other opportunities for questions along this presentation. But just
there was one question I think is kind of important, is about the certified homeownership classes and whether or not they are free.
Oh yeah, I thought we answered that quickly.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, they're free.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. No worries. They are free. We will list the organizations, but I can tell you right now, Home Housing Opportunities Made Equal, Southside Development Center, and Virginia Housing have certified classes. It's key to remember that you want to, because there are a lot of homeownership classes out there, you want to get a certified class. Like I mentioned, they are free. They're listed on their website. You will get a certificate in the completion of that class. If you choose to put in an application with us, you want to submit that certificate as part of your application or in addition to. Even if you're not ready right now, That certification lasts for 2 years. So we strongly encourage you to go ahead and complete that class. The one through Home Housing Opportunities Made Equal is 2 days, 2 evening sessions. So you want to do that. When you're asking, a lot of people had questions about how long does it take? Things like that can eat up your time. So that might be something for you to consider doing now, even if you're not ready right now, but you know you want to be ready in 2 years. Those certificates last for 2 years. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thanks. So I'm going to jump back into the presentation right now and talk a bit about taxes. So you are responsible for all of the taxes on your house, but not the land. So because Maggie Walker operates as the Richmond Land Bank and the land bank for Chesterfield and Henrico, the land is tax exempt. So also there's state legislation that says CLT homeowners cannot be taxed on the full market value of their home, and they can only be taxed on what they can sell the home for according to the ground lease. And this is all just to say that it's another affordability feature. So in a high value real estate market like we're in right now, the land prices are going up exponentially, but you are not required to pay taxes on the land. However, you are responsible for the upkeep of your home, any necessary maintenance that goes for fixing appliances that are out of warranty, leaky roof, broken windows, things like that. And you are also responsible for the upkeep of your land. So even though you are renting or leasing the land from us, you are responsible for mowing the lawn, taking care of dead trees, vegetation, things like that. So now I'm going to talk a bit about what happens when you go to sell your CLT home. We're going to go into an example of our resale formula. So when you go to sell your home, you are entitled to get back, first and foremost, your cash equity. So that includes any down payment that you put on your house when your earned equity. So and my last slide talking about that loan principal that you paid off by making your monthly mortgage payment. And then also you are entitled your home's increase in value that is based on the percentage increase in area incomes while you have lived in your home. So this is an example of one of our first homes in the Randolph neighborhood. And this is one of the homes that has actually gone through the resale process. So this home, it appraised for $261,200, and it was sold for $180,000 through subsidies from Maggie Walker. And because we were able to sell this house for much less than it appraised for, the home buyer borrowed a lot less money from the bank. They had lower monthly payments, and then they also had a lower down payment on their house than they would have if they purchased this on the conventional market. So when we go to sell, or when you go to sell your house, what we do, how we calculate this price is we start with the original sales price, and then we look at the increase in the area median income over the time that you have owned your home. So the year that this home was purchased, the area median income was $83,000. And then when this property was sold, for the purpose of this example, the estimate is about $90,200. And that's because on average, it's about a 2% increase in the Richmond area year by year. So over the 5 years that this individual lived in their house, the area median income, or the AMI, increased by $7,000 or 8.41%. So we multiply the original sales price by that 8.41%, getting $14,580. So the equity that was earned over that 5-year period includes that money by the increase in wages, plus any down payment that was put into the house, and plus any principal that was paid through the monthly mortgage payments. And I will just point out here, this has not been the case. But if the area median income decreases instead of increasing, you are still able to sell your home for what you purchased it for. You will not lose money in this process. And again, here is the amortization schedule that I went through earlier. And this just shows how the homeowner has accrued $16,225 just by paying their monthly mortgage payment. In addition to that, they also have accrued $14,580 from the home's increase in value based on the wages. And that is a total of $30,805 in equity. And if we can compare that to what would have been the case if over the same 5 years this individual was renting, it would be about $72,500 in rent, but instead they have accrued $30,805. So that touches on the equity that you will get from selling your house. However, what the at the core of the community land trust model is permanent affordability for the future owners. So as you go to sell your house, we use this formula to make sure that this home will remain affordable for future families who may be in a similar economic situation to you right now. So the way that we calculate what the house will sell for to the next buyer is we take the original sales price of $180,000 and then we add that increase in value. So that's $14,580. And then we add those together and we come up with the new price, which is set at $194,580. And if we can remember, the house appraised for about $290 or $260, that's still significantly more affordable than the market. So the future resale price is set so another family will be able to purchase a home in the future. I know that can be confusing, so I want to pause and answer any questions. And before I do that, I'm going to talk about this house here. It is in Church Hill, a 2-bedroom, 2.5-bathroom home. This was sold for $160,000. And it was built by Project Homes using land from the Richmond Land Bank. Oh, here's a good question. So Sylvia asked, so how does that actually help you buy your next house if you have to buy it on the regular market? Let's see. April or Candace, help me answer that one.
Sure. So Sylvia's question is what we're looking at, right? So how does that actually, I'm sorry, someone just put something in and it moved my screen. How does that actually help you buy your next house if you have to buy in the regular market? Correct. It's not a lot of return on, and you're absolutely right, Sylvia. That is the caveat of this model and keeping those homes affordable. It is a different concept in terms of thinking about how much equity one can have in a house on the conventional market. That is, you have a point there. That is one of the things or the trade-offs when it comes to buying or getting all of the return. It's how we keep our homes affordable for the next person. Flora, you're off mute, so it looks like you want to chime in on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that, you know, I think in a lot of cases, I can't speak to our CLT specifically because I know we haven't like studied this extensively, but in a lot of cases, CLT homeowners stay in their homes longer than than conventional market homeowners. And staying in your home longer is another way to generate more equity than you can then bring to your next home purchase, right? So instead of staying in your home for, 2 or 3 years, you might stay in your CLT home for 5 or 6 years. And then at the end of that, you might have, a similar amount of equity after you pay back your loan to take to your next purchase. So I think it's really all a matter of what you do. I think CLT homes are really well suited for people who want to buy their first home and stay in it for a while.
Yes, that's right. And it's a really good point from transitioning from renting to home ownership. Again, we know how the rents are skyrocketing in Richmond. And if I know the interest rates are a bit crazy right now, but that monthly payment can kind of be comparable to what renting is like on today's market. And so that's money that you do not get back with renting.
Right. And I'll add to that, this program, and I am a very blunt person, you guys. So I want to say this program is not for everyone. I look at this program as if you want to play chess and not checkers, meaning if you're looking to get started with home ownership, this is a good place for you to start. As Flora mentioned, our homeowners stay for a while. We're just starting to have people to sell within the last few years since our creation, since the organization started. So that's saying a lot. But to your point, one of the reasons that we have this, Sylvia, the whole conventional market should be a community land trust. Good point there. One of the reasons we have this info session is because we are very transparent. And while this is a good program, right? A lot of people are attracted to the program because truthfully, our prices are lower than most homes on the market right now. And we really do have great homes. We want everyone to understand what this model of CLT is, why it exists the way that it is, and the pros and for what some may consider to be cons of the program. So we're very transparent about that. So I'm glad you asked that question. Thank you. Let's see. When it's time to sell a house, how is the price? Okay, I think we answered that. Does the approval need to go through the community to be justified for sale? No, that's April. April is here to help if you come into the CLT, you purchase a home with us and you decide to sell. April is your first point of contact. That's what's a little bit different about our program. Actually, a lot different is once you purchase, we don't leave you. You're a family member. So you contact us, you contact April, and April will assist you in starting that process.
Yes. For sure. You're stuck with us forever.
Okay. Will you open applications again for Ettrick Landing? Danielle, great question. Right now, because we have so much interest, they are on a pause. I will say that we're working through the applications to see where we are with that. So if that is your interest, while the applications specifically for Ettrick are on a pause right now, I still encourage you to put in an application to have yourself included in the applicant pool at any rate, whether it's Ettrick or something else. I have to run to something else in a little bit. Is the session recorded for me to finish watching later? Yes.
Yeah, the session is being live streamed on YouTube, and I'll send you a link after the session to view that live stream again.
And thank you, Lark, for answering Christy's questions. Are you still able to will the property? Yes. We do have the estate planning process. Yes, thank you, Glennis. How can I get started? We're going to talk about that momentarily. Okay, Shamari, last question. After you submit your application, and remember, and we'll talk about the application. What's the turnaround time? So we do have someone that processes our applications before they get to Elizabeth. And so just give her some time to do that. We are a very small team, but we try to we'll get back to you definitely in the week, but we need more than 24 hours, okay? There are a lot of documents to verify, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, so let's move forward. Thank you guys for all the questions. You're welcome.
I can do this part. It's Leah.
Okay, I was going to go ahead, feel free.
So we're going to go right into the application process. This is a little infographic that shows our current process, and just to point out, this is not going to be the same for every one of our buyers. You can come into the process differently than someone else, but typically this is the roadmap that we recommend if you have not started any part of the application process yet. And so congratulations. This is the first recommended step, which is attending this information session and gauging if this program is something that would be a good fit for you and your family. And then what we really recommend next is to get in touch with one of our approved lenders and see if you are pre-qualified for our minimum of $150,000. And that kind of helps you gauge where you are in the process. And that's not required to be the next step, but that does really help to move things along quickly. The next thing is to send us your application and your income documents. So we do have really strict guidelines on our income limits. And so I'll get into the next slide about the specific documents that we need from you, but we do an extensive look to make sure that you are under income. And that's based on federal guidelines and funding that we receive. So we need to comply with that. We also require that you attend a HUD approved home ownership class and submit your certificate to us. And then after you complete that, we put you in an approved applicant pool where you are then notified of homes when they become available, and they'll become available either through new construction with us, or if a current home buyer is selling their house, you'll also receive information first and foremost about any house that's going to be resold. And so that would not go into the market first. It would be everything is listed to our applicant pool first. And then if no one is interested, then it will be listed on MLS. But if you are interested in a home, you arrange a showing with either your real estate agent or with our real estate agent, Jen Cox, whose information we shared earlier. And then you will have to submit a contract, and that includes a contract signing appointment with our staff. We have certain addendums and requirements that we need to make clear at the beginning of the closing process, and then also, if necessary, resubmit any income documents or and have an updated pre-approval letter. And then if there are multiple people that are interested in a property, we refer to our buyer prioritization policy, which is a criteria that is used to have this process be as equitable as possible. We do not go on a first come, first served basis. If someone can put that in the chat, that would be amazing. Flora's got it. Thank you, Flora. We look at the applicant as a whole, not just how long you've been on the wait list or if you're the first to submit a contract. And that criteria is in the document that Flora just put in the chat. So once you go under the closing process, you are also required to meet with one of our pro bono attorneys who will review the ground lease in depth with you, going through each section and really explaining how our program differs from the conventional market and what the ground lease permits you to do and restricts you from doing. And this also is an opportunity for you to take part in our estate planning program, and that's free of charge and included in our program. And then after everything is complete, you'll move into your new home. These are the lenders that we are currently approved and working with. So to purchase one of our homes, you must be pre-approved for a conventional loan with a minimum of $150,000.
Elizabeth, let me say something before you move on. And this is for our prospective buyers, but also specifically for our realtors, if there are any realtors on the call. So, we do have the preferred lenders list that Elizabeth went over. It is also listed on our website. What is not listed is that we do have preferred closing attorneys, Fleckenstein and Associates. Here's why, and this is for everyone there. Using our attorneys, and again, these are attorneys that have closed with the CLT. The closing process is completely different. I want to stress that. The closing process is completely different with the CLT home than it is on the conventional market. Using our preferred attorneys save you money. There is not a fee associated with using our preferred lenders. However, to use lenders outside of that to close, because again, closing with the CLT home is completely different. There's a lot of paperwork and nuances with that. There is a fee attached to that. So if you're working with people that want to go through this program, they will save money in using our preferred closers. My information is at the end of this. So feel free to reach out to me about that. And again, our goal here, we don't make any profits or anything like that from those that we considered our preferred lenders or closers. It is to make sure that the homeowner is having the smoothest and best closing and home ownership process. That is our goal. So if you're a prospective home buyer, if you're a realtor that's on this call, please reach out to me about that. I can go into a little bit more detail about that, but we want to make sure that you're having the best process with no hiccups, and trust me, they do happen. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah. This slide kind of is an overview of our process again. I went through it in depth in the previous slide, but I do want to stress again the income documents that you will be required to submit with your application. And so these include 3 months of your latest pay stubs or benefit statements for each household member. And that excludes full-time students. So if you have a full-time student living at your household, you do not need to have them submit their pay stubs. 6 months of your bank statements, and that's for all accounts, for all adults. And that can be a lot, but we need to make sure that you are within our income limits. And you need to submit your 2 most recent federal tax returns with your matching W-2s or 1099s. And if you do not file taxes, you will need a statement of non-filing status. And if you are self-employed, Schedule C's and your tax returns, that is how we'll calculate your income. And then you also need record of assets over $5,000 if you're receiving income on those assets. And we also have our own asset policy that we make sure that you would qualify based on assets. And then we also, again, will go over your process and send you an eligibility or denial confirmation email upon completion. And if you're sending us all of these documents at once, it's a pretty short turnaround time. It's myself and one other staff member who couldn't be here tonight, but we tend to have a pretty quick turnaround with your income documents if you submit it all to us at once. Let's see here. So I want to make you all aware of some of our funding and grant opportunities. We have mentioned a few times on this call, one of our partners, which is Housing Opportunities Made Equal, or HOME of Virginia. And they offer counseling services as well as access to down payment assistance. And they are one of our partners who offers the home ownership course. So in order to be eligible for down payment assistance, you need to take their home ownership course, meet with a counselor, and then if eligible, you would potentially, based on their funding and the time of year, be eligible for their down payment assistance program, which can make a big difference. Another opportunity is the VITA match program with Southside Community Development Housing Corporation. And this is essentially a matching program, savings program. So for every certain amount of money you put down, they will match that towards the down payment for your home. And then your lenders may have additional grant opportunities based on their individual program. And then just another, I know we mentioned this earlier, but please expect your closing to take a little bit longer than the conventional market. We have a lot of moving pieces. Oftentimes, it's not just Maggie Walker. We work with other organizations, other developers, funders, and we have a bit of a different process. So we highly recommend you to have expectation of 45 days to 60 days for closing. And then this is a slide that shows, again, kind of just the overview of what to do for your next steps. We have our address. So you can email and scan your application and supporting documents to applications@mwclt.org. Scan and fax them. All of this information is on our website, and I will send a link in a second. And you can also mail or drop off hard copies to our office, and that is at 205 North Robinson Street in the Fan, pretty close to the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. And once again, these are some of the housing resources that we went over at the beginning of the presentation. Commonwealth Catholic Charities, and their services are also free. I know we mentioned free classes and whatnot, but all of their services are free of charge. Credit counseling, as well as just general financial budgeting and whatnot. And then the housing resource line, which is resources to more emergency housing, eviction situations, just general information about services in the area. And here is our contact info. And then we can open up the conversation for any last minute questions. I guess we don't have the poll, do we? And the
No, we don't.
okay.
It's okay.
But there's lots of questions in the chat that
Okay.
April and Lark have been answering, but we should definitely talk about.
Okay. For those that
Anyone hear me?
I'm sorry.
Hello?
Yes.
I said, can anyone hear me?
Yes.
It's not working on Zoom for me, so I phoned in. So I haven't been able to see any of this. What about, probably just need to call. Disabled people that have made all that changes, like once upon a time we made great money. Now I'm on disability and everything has changed. I haven't done taxes for the last 2 years because I've been drawing down just enough to live on from my retirement.
Yes, ma'am. So if you are, and again, I'll give you my personal, my work number for you to call and speak about something specifically, but this is for anyone because we often get questions about people receiving disability benefits or going towards that direction. if you have not filed taxes because of whatever stream of income that you have as it relates to disability, then you can get a letter from whether that's Social Security or wherever you get your disability benefits from, that states that you are in a category that allows you to not apply for or allows you to not have to file taxes. So there is a way of working with that as well.
Yes, and that might be a question for lenders are on the call about requirements for submitting tax returns, as well as I'm seeing a question about job history.
Job history is a big one. And here's why, and maybe we can have some of our lenders to speak to this. Changing jobs can greatly affect your changing jobs, not necessarily changing income does affect what you qualify for, of course, but changing jobs can also affect, I don't want to say your credit worthiness, but where you fall in the spectrum of your approval. I don't know if we still have any lender on the call that would like to answer that, because that is also contingent upon, and we only have 3 minutes here, but that's also contingent upon the particular lender and the product that they provide. So there is no universal answer for that, but just know that changes in your income, whether that's your income going up, which is a great thing, or if you are moving in the process, changing jobs in the process of getting another job, then that can change the income there, right? What your, I don't want to say your credit worthiness, but what the bank, how they move forward with underwriting. Are there any more questions? I want to see if we can cover as much as we can in these 3 minutes.
I do have a question. I'm the disability person. I actually own a home in Florida and wish to move to Richmond. Until I saw the prices on the houses. I'm like, okay, I can sell my house, and because I own my house outright, I can sell it.
So let me give you my phone number. And this is to everyone.
And
that number
name,
is my name is Candace Turner. Okay. Candace, yes, ma'am. Candace Turner. And I wish I was related to Tina, but I am not. My number is 804. My number is 804.
Okay.
718 0134. 718-0134. And you can feel free to. Now, please, everyone, that's my number. If you call me tonight, I'm not answering. Okay. I'm just being honest. So call me tomorrow.
You're allowed to go home.
So there's that. Thank you so much. I look forward to speaking with you. Let's see, anything else before we go? I think there was one. It would be harder for a freelancer like me to qualify. Not necessarily. That's a lender question. Look at the lenders. Again, with the lenders, everyone, date before you marry. Have a conversation with them. See who you're meshing well with, and if they are able to provide you what it is that you're looking for. Sylvia, I'm assuming that you have to do your taxes. And so if that's the case, you just provide your taxes in the method that you file them. Okay, so it shouldn't be any harder in that regard.
They'll look at their profit and loss.
There you go. Thank you, April.
Yeah.
Any final questions, everyone? Again, you have our contact numbers and email addresses there.
There was a couple in the chat that I thought might be worth touching on just really quickly.
Absolutely.
One person asked, if you meet the income requirements and then get married and a spouse moves in with you, will that, what happens? And the answer to that is nothing. That's great for you and we're very happy for you.
Very true.
And then another one I wanted to touch on was someone asked, If they can't be approved for $150,000 from the bank, then there's no need to apply until you make sure you meet those requirements and have good credit. And I wanted to, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the $150,000 number includes your savings and any grants or other financial assistance. So it doesn't all have to come in a loan. The loan pre-qualification itself doesn't have to say $150,000 on it, but you have to have access to $150,000 in total.
And that number, that's really just to set expectations for you as buyers, because we are averaging about a sales price on average of $190,000 currently, and that number due to just like cost of construction, the market, etc., is just increasing. Unfortunately, we really wish it wasn't the case, but we just want our buyers to be able to have reasonable expectations that they would be able to purchase. And so that's why that number is there.
And let me say this as well. That number is there, as Elizabeth mentioned, to manage expectations, right? If you have a dream of home ownership, I do not want you to turn your dream into a nightmare, okay? It can be in this market because it's crazy right now. We all can acknowledge that. However, if there's a way that we can help you, it may not be through Maggie Walker Community Land Trust. It may not be now, it may just be later, right? You may not have a no, it just may be a not yet. We don't want you to give up. We're here to support, so please reach out to us if there's another way that we can direct you. We are not the only organization here. So if you're just getting started and this is all overwhelming and you just need someone to talk to about this, please reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to talk to you and at least get you at a place where you're starting to move forward a little bit more with the thought of this coming more to fruition and to reality, okay? You are so welcome, Leah and Sylvia and everyone. We want to thank you so much for being here tonight. As Flora mentioned, this is live stream. You can look at it again on the replay on YouTube. Our contact information is there. Please feel free to reach out to either one of us. We thank you and we look forward to hearing from you. Again, that application is on, you're welcome. That application is on the website, that buyer prioritization. Again, we're not first come, first serves. There's no kickboxing debate or anything like that here. We are a program really set up to help those that are ready and to help those that have a harder time to getting to home ownership. Okay. Thank you guys for everything. And we hope you have a wonderful night. We hope to hear from you soon.
And
Take care.
Okay, thank you. A
You're
very
welcome.
informational session. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing that. You're welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Have a good night. Good night.
Have a good night. Good
Good night.
night.